welcome to Emotions and Potions, a love/hate letter with Ashtin and Alex.
Hello, everybody. I'm Ashtin.
I'm Alex.
Thanks for joining us.
Yes, today's letter is to Penelope Douglas's Birthday Girl, an age-gapped romance novel. Hit us with that synopsis.
All right, so this is what the book is about. Jordan, he took me in when I had nowhere else to go. He doesn't use me, hurt me, or forget about me. He listens to me, protects me, and sees me. I can feel his eyes on me over the breakfast table, and my heart pumps so hard when I hear him pull in the driveway after work. I have to stop this. It can't happen. My sister once told me there are no good men, and if you find one, he's probably unavailable. Only Pike Lawson isn't the unavailable one. I am. Pike. I took her in because I thought I was helping. As the days go by, though, it becomes anything but easy. I have to stop my mind from drifting to her and stop holding my breath every time I bump into her in the house. I can't touch her, and I shouldn't want to. But we're not free to give into this. She's 19, and I'm 38, and her boyfriend's father. Unfortunately, they both just moved into my house.
I think that describes the book pretty well.
I think that gives readers a general idea that this is going to be an age gap to kind of taboo relationship. So, in today's episode, obviously we are going to talk a ton about our emotions. But first, let's bring in the potions aspect. Today, Alex prepared this beautiful freaking looking drink. We will post it on our Instagram.
Let me introduce you to Donut Daddy. It's a birthday drink. It's a celebratory, very sweet.
This is definitely ticking all the boxes. Please tell me about the rim.
So the rim, I made a donut glaze, garnished it with sprinkles. So it is very birthday.
This drink is definitely like a one and done.
Yes.
It's not something you're going to be wanting to drink multiple of.
No.
In a sitting. So what's in it?
So it is cake vodka, strawberries and cream Baileys, some Amaretto, shaken, and pour it into an iced, chilled. I did it in a coupe glass, or you could do a martini glass. Or if you don't want a whole lot, make it a shot.
I think this would be a really good shot. You could do the same garnishing with the shot. This drink is fantastic. I'm here for it. And it definitely sets me up to talk about Birthday Girl. Okay, so now we're going to dive deep and hard into Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas.
I'm ready and excited for this one.
Okay, so kind of a brief overview on this book. There are some triggering content warnings that are kind of given to us. These include what we've already kind of mentioned with that taboo age gap romance. Since she's 19, he's 38. Mm-hmm. Obviously, there is a major age gap right there. It is a slow burn, so you don't really get the hot and heavy scenes until about 67% through the book. It is a forbidden romance, obviously, with Pike being Jordan's boyfriend's dad.
Yep.
And there's a lot of masturbation in this book.
Oh, yeah.
More so than So Alex and I have already read this book, and we reread it so we could do it for the podcast. And I have to say that the masturbation in this was definitely a lot more the second time that I read it. I was like, oh, shit. It stood out a lot more. There's also some cheating, parental abandonment and neglect, physical abuse, underage drinking, death of a friend. And this book is also written in a dual first-person point of view, so you get both perspectives from Jordan and Pike. All right, so let's just get down and dirty.
Let's talk about these characters.
So obviously we have Jordan and Pike being the two main characters, and we will talk so much about them. But let's start off with some of the more minor characters. Do you want to talk about Cole real quick?
Yes.
And tell us who Cole is.
So Cole is Jordan's boyfriend and Pike's son. So he's kind of a main character, but slightly below Jordan.
He's
and
like
Pike.
A B.
Yeah.
Like a B list.
Because definitely a lot of the plot, he's part of the love triangle, if you will.
But he's not around a whole lot.
No. But you get with their inner dialogues, it's a lot of talking about Cole. So Cole is 19 as well. Him and Jordan are currently together. They've been together for 3 years.
Something like that.
They started out as friends, and their friend passes away. And through that trauma is what really bonds Jordan and Cole together. And Cole is the immature one in the relationship. He's not really thinking about what's next in his life. He's just a partier, blows all his money.
He has no direction.
Yeah, no direction.
Lost.
Very lost. And that gets him and Jordan into these weird relationship problems and dynamics because she's very opposite of that.
She's more of an old soul. She kind of has her shit together, at least internally.
Yes.
Where Cole doesn't.
Yeah, Cole does not. He's just kind of lives in the moment kind of guy. And so he becomes very neglectful and like forgets about Jordan and like responsibilities because they moved out together and they have an apartment together, and he's not really providing and supporting their little household that they've created. And then Cole also has a pretty rocky relationship with his dad, Pike.
So the next character to kind of get introduced is Lindsay. Very spiteful and just like an ugly person inside. She is the reason why Cole and Pike don't have a good relationship. Lindsay and Pike split when Cole was only 2. Mm-hmm. Lindsay, being the mother, won the court's kind of approval, and so she got full custody. And as he grew up, she kind of started putting things in his head to get him to not like Pike and build that rift because Lindsay couldn't keep Pike, and she's salty about it. And she sucks. She does. And she's one of those, like, she likes to keep Pike in her back pocket. Yes. She and Pike, it's mentioned that they, like, continue to kind of hook up kind of across the years. Cole's 19 now, so obviously they haven't been together for 17 years. But in those 17 years, he's had some weak moments where he's given in to Lindsay's qualms and her needs. And so Lindsay kind of likes to keep him kind of in her back pocket because she's also like a serial dater. She's not remarried. She's always looking for the next best thing. Every encounter you get with her throughout this book, you're just like, go away. Stop. But it makes a great antagonist. It does, because she definitely does bring a lot of drama. Alex loves Cam. I adore Cam. Cam is Jordan's older sister. She's 23. She's a single mom, and she is a stripper at The Hook, which is the local strip club. Her relationship in the book, she has this motherly but also sisterly relationship and role in Jordan's life. She's protective of her sister, but she also riles her up. One moment she's like mama bear protective over Jordan, and the next she's like, I want you to come work at the strip club with me. Right. The dynamic is just so funny. I feel like Cam is our comic relief. The next character we're going to talk about is Shell. So Shell, she's not a huge character in this book, but I do feel like her aura, she's important though. Yes, like she has an important role even though you don't get a whole lot of interactions with her. Shell is the manager of the bar restaurant that Jordan works at. So Jordan waitresses, bartends at Grounders. Shell is the owner and the manager of Grounders. So Shell also kind of similarly to Cam has kind of taken on that motherly role for Jordan, but I do feel like Shell is more thoroughly the mother figure, where Cam kind of goes back and forth between being a mother and like the older sister. And Shell's very protective. And we see that throughout the book. And very no nonsense. Yes. She's a badass. Like, she's not someone I would want to cross. There's a perfect descriptor of Shell in the book where she's like the owner from the Coyote Ugly bar in the movie Coyote Ugly. And then our next villain character is Jay. Jay is Jordan's high school ex-boyfriend and fling of 6 months. She was with him before her and Cole started dating. He's a horrible, horrible, horrible character. Also one of those with no redeeming qualities, just like Lindsay. Every scene, every chapter, every instance where Jay's involved makes me so mad. He's that piece of shit jock who peaked in high school, doesn't leave his hometown, and just continues to stay in that mindset that he continues to harass Jordan. It's like bled over until they're into their like adult life. Yes. And it's kind of like, grow the fuck up. But he's always going to have that same high school jock mentality. I'm too cool. I can do no wrong. But really everything he does is wrong and horrible.
And him and Cole aren't friends by any means, but they do still run in the same circles because they're both still partying with the people they went to high school with.
And it's a smaller town.
And it's a small town, so
it is what it is.
Yes. So it's one of those, like, they kind of try to stay away from each other, but always end up in the same
parties or with the same people.
Yeah.
And then our last character that we're kind of going to touch on is Dutch. So Dutch is Pike's best friend / coworker.
Yeah.
/ coworker. Dutch is also kind of like, I feel like, a comic relief character. I feel like he sometimes brings out like funny moments and funny kind of one-liners, but he's also like a voice of reason.
He's Pike's voice of reason.
Yes.
And he's also a pot stirrer as well, because he also kind of likes to egg Pike on about having Jordan in his life, because Jordan is like Pike's ideal girl from when they were in high school, because like Dutch and Pike went to high school together.
How the book starts off is very intriguing. So the first chapter, Jordan's working. It's her birthday. It's her 19th birthday. And she is at work. Shell lets her off early, but she can't get in touch with her unreliable boyfriend, Cole. Not responding to texts, not answering his phone. So she decides to go down to the local movie theater where they have like a late night showing of a scary movie.
Yeah, because the other thing, and a big thing with Jordan, is she loves the 80s.
Jordan is obsessed with the 80s.
80s TV, movies, music, all things 80s. And they're showing an 80s horror movie.
Yes. And so she goes down to the movie theater. Shell gives her some donuts that she picked up for her birthday since she couldn't get her cake, and a bottle of wine. It was a box of wine. You're right. A box of wine.
Gotta love the box wine.
That Jordan sneaks into said movie, where she then makes a mess and she spills the wine. She drops her phone. She's flustered. She's on the floor.
And she's flustered because Jay's there.
Yes. And Jordan, seeing Jay, has like, that PTSD. Like, she just doesn't want anything to do with him.
She doesn't want him to recognize her and say something. So she's scrambling to like collect herself and her things. And she realizes her phone has kind of like skidded across the floor and landed near
Pike. He's there alone, an older guy who happens to be very good looking. To give some character descriptions of Pike, he's dark-haired, he has hazel eyes, and he's like muscular. He works in construction, so his job is very physical. So he's stayed in really good shape, and he's got the tats going. He's got the sleeve, which Alex and I are here for in real life and in fiction.
I think because we're very much into tattoos in real life, when like our book boyfriends have tattoos, it's like I'm more so instantly drawn to this character.
Yes, exactly. And so Jordan is scrambling, trying to find her phone, which happens to be near this mystery man who's sitting by himself. He ends up helping her out, and they end up sitting together and watching the movie. And you can already tell that she's intrigued. She feels a little guilty because of Cole, but she's like vibing with him.
Because he's actually like taking an interest in her, paying her attention, noticing things. Like he notices that she has donuts and wine, and he's like, "What's this about?" And she's like, "Oh, it's my birthday." And he does something really cute and like gets a match out and puts it in one of the donuts so she can blow out a birthday candle and make a birthday wish.
Yes.
So he's like actually paying attention, and they're bonding over a shared interest in movies. Pike likes horror movies, and Jordan just likes anything 80s.
And so they end up watching the movie together, and things go well, like nothing, whatever. They end up leaving the theater. But before that, Pike makes the comment about another showing of I think it's Poltergeist. I think they're playing Poltergeist like the next week or in a few weeks or something like that. And he mentions,
maybe we'll run into each other.
And this is where Jordan kind of feels guilty, because deep down she's kind of like, I want to meet him here,
but I have a boyfriend. So she does let Pike know.
So they leave the theater and they're going their separate ways when
they both get calls from Cole.
Yes. And so she answers,
and Pike overhears it. And this is when they realize they have a shared connection, being Cole, and that Cole is the boyfriend Jordan was talking about. And then Jordan realizes this man she was just kind of having a good conversation with and kind of into like having this attraction moment is her boyfriend's father.
Yes. So we learn about Pike. We learn about this triangle of Pike, Cole, and
right
Jordan
off the bat
in the first chapter.
And what had happened is Cole's been arrested. He was arrested because he was throwing a birthday party for Jordan.
A birthday party for his girlfriend who wasn't there because she had to work until 2 a.m.
That he forgot to go pick her up. So he throws this birthday party that she never gets to attend, gets arrested. It winds up getting them evicted from the apartment the two of them have together. Pike then steps in because he wants to repair the rift.
Yes, because Pike is upset. He's sad that his relationship is not what it should be with Cole. Pike saw this opportunity and took it and says, I have a big house. I have extra rooms. You and Jordan can move in with me.
And then Pike is also allowing them to live with him rent-free so they can save money. They're going to pay their way in other ways around the house. And Jordan is also a college student. She's going to school for landscaping. So that's another thing her and Pike kind of have a connection and bond over is because Pike owns a construction company. So Jordan's very much interested in what he does.
Okay. So the first thing that I want to touch on is where Pike takes Jordan to his construction site due to weather. So there's a big rainstorm that comes in and it floods.
And this is like the first morning after Cole and Jordan have moved in.
Yes. So this is it's pretty early. Jordan and Cole have just moved in. There's a big rainstorm that comes in. And since Pike is part of like a construction business, he owns his own company. It's kind of up to him to go to the site to make sure that the rain isn't going to damage the foundation and the stuff that he's building.
Yep.
So as part of Cole's bargain and deal of living with them, Cole is supposed to help Pike with construction stuff when needed.
Especially since Cole is always kind of like between jobs.
Yes.
He's never working at one place for long.
Yeah. So this is like a prime example of when Pike needs Cole. But Cole is extremely hungover. And so Jordan ends up kind of picking up the slack and going with Pike to the construction site in torrential downpour. So in this scene, Jordan is loving it.
Yes.
So they get to the site and Jordan kind of just jumps right into it. Pike, this is in Pike's point of view. So Pike's kind of like thinking that, okay, she's not going to pull her weight. Like, this is just a waste, but I guess I'll take her. Whatever.
Better than nobody.
Better than nobody. But she kind of holds her own. And, like, he glances over a few times, and she is just, like, she's either laughing with, like, some of the guys, or, like, she's hauling these bags
like,
of
she's
sand.
fitting right in.
Yeah, and, like, she enjoys this.
And Pike likes that Jordan is not afraid to get her hands dirty. So then his inner monologue, he's kind of, like, noticing... Well, he's already noticed how attractive she is, but he's getting attracted to her in a different way now. And he's seeing like his crew check her out. And we get the first glimpse of him getting a little jealous.
But he plays it off as, that's my son's girlfriend.
Yeah.
So Jordan ends up being an actual like benefit to the work site.
So later that night, Jordan goes to work at Grounders and Cole and Jay show up while Jordan's working. And you see Cole kind of being a good boyfriend in this part because he does kind of come around the bar and like
he hugs up on her,
like
gives her a kiss on the
like
neck.
You know, hey, you okay? Like,
which is nice because he knows that Jay causes Jordan distress, and so he is comforting her, which is nice to see.
And this is kind of where you do get a glimpse as to like why Jordan has kind of stuck around and how they do kind of know each other very well and are comfortable with each other. But also they've been friends for a long time at this point. Cam also shows up to the bar this night after Cole and Jay leave because they're going to go party somewhere else. And Cam is already aware of Jordan's new living situation and kind of went over and introduced herself and was like, this Pike guy's kind of attractive. Ooh, you're living in the same roof.
Like this hot, attractive older guy. Like,
and your boyfriend's never around.
And you're a hot piece of ass yourself.
What's going to happen? So this is like, you know, introducing how like Cam likes to rile up her younger sister and kind of bait her.
This is a prime example of the sisterly.
Yes, the sisterly aspect.
Sisterly avenue of Cam.
Shell has Cam come around the bar and kind of help out serving drinks and whatnot. And Cam is doing that this night. And when it's about Jordan's shift is up, she puts a gift into Jordan's backpack. And this gift is a wet t-shirt contest flyer at the Hook, the strip club that Cam works at. And also like a little, I guess,
lingerie.
like a little birthday gift,
Yeah.
I would say, because it was her birthday just like a couple days ago. And Jordan opens it when she gets home. And she's like, oh, Cam. Like, you know, kind of, I can't believe my sister did this, but it's very much
like on brand for
on
Cam.
brand for my sister. But then Jordan decides to try it on. And this is where we get our first Cole's gone, and she's like, he's going to regret not coming home and going out to party because I look good in this. So she starts letting that fantasy kind of linger, but it starts to turn from being her dreaming about like fantasizing what her and Cole would be doing to this faceless man. And it's like with the wet t-shirt contest, so then she kind of starts getting the Hook involved in this fantasy where it's like her dancing on stage for
this
like
this guy
this
who
mystery
is
guy.
her guy.
Yes, he is hers, she is his, and they're like,
she's only dancing for him.
Yeah, there's like nobody else there.
Yeah.
She's on like a solo stage, and it's just her and this guy, and he starts smoking a cigar. In walks Pike. He comes home.
So she
starts to realize that she's no longer alone, and is like, oh goodness, I need a like hard abort mission. And she realizes it's Pike who's come home, and he's on the phone. So she's like, whew, thankfully he's distracted and not hearing what I'm up to.
And she's never seen him smoke a cigar up until this point.
So I feel like this was a really cool like foreshadowing moment that Penelope did about, I feel like the guy she was fantasizing about morphed into Pike.
Yes. Yeah.
Or at least that's what it leads you to believe.
It's her subconscious
saying that she is attracted to him.
Yes.
And so very much then it's like, oh goodness, I messed up. She like changes, puts like regular PJs, lounge clothes on. And then to make matters kind of more awkward, so it's like she's just had this mid-masturbation session, and Pike comes home and interrupts it. So she's already embarrassed on that front. Then he like goes up to her room and is like, hey, is Cole home too? You guys want to like have a pizza night? And she's just like,
But she first says no, but then she ends up saying yes. And this is also the first time that Pike and Jordan
are
hang out
together.
Alone. Mm-hmm. They put on a movie or a TV and they eat their pizza.
This becomes like a normal situation where Cole's out and it's just
the
Jordan and Pike.
Okay, the next scene that I want to talk about, I kind of have like a love-hate vibe about. Uh-huh. So this is the scene where Pike is doing laundry. He just got his laundry out of the dryer and he's upstairs going through it, and he comes across a red lacy thong, obviously belonging to the only girl in the house. Mm-hmm. So first, you know, he's a little uncomfortable because he's like, how did that get in there? That's a very personal, intimate object of my son's girlfriend. Yeah. And so he is kind of having this like internal panic because he doesn't want to go and give it to her because he's like, no, that'll be even more awkward. I think he just ends up like, he's like on his way to put it in her room, I think, and make it so like she has no idea. He glances out the window in the backyard and sees that Jordan is mowing the lawn.
Which is supposed to be
Cole's responsibility, but of course this is a prime example of Jordan picking up Cole's responsibilities because that's the type of person that she is. So obviously it's the summertime, so it's hot. And she is mowing the lawn, and you know, she's looking good. I mean, she's wearing shorts, she's wearing a tight shirt that's probably like, she has sweat, so it's probably like sticking to her.
And she goes and takes a dive in the pool.
And she gets hot and she goes and she jumps into the pool. As Pike is watching this, he's kind of like, damn. First, he's kind of like, damn. Then he's like, why is she doing this? It's not her responsibility. And then he looks over and sees his neighbor, Kyle Kramer, doing the same shit that Pike is doing.
But Kramer's doing it in a lot more of a creepy way.
He's legit just like He is a peeping Tom. He is just eye candy in Pike's backyard. He is all there for it. And so this makes Pike pissed.
Yes.
So Pike is a very possessive, jealous male lead. And
Not trusting.
Not trusting. So he storms out into the lawn and he starts going at Jordan. First, you know, he's kind of like, why are you doing this? This is not your responsibility. And he's also like, you are being a cock tease. He even tells her, this is the part that I hate. He literally tells her to her face, you are being a cock tease and people in the neighborhood are going to start talking. And she's like, what the fuck is your deal? I am mowing the goddamn lawn. She's like, I'm dressed. She's like, I'm not even like, it's not even like I'm naked. She's like, I'm mowing the lawn.
Yeah, and she's like wearing shorts and a shirt. It's not like she's out there like in a teeny weeny yellow polka dot bikini doing this.
Right. And so Pike just comes on. He just comes out so forceful. And it's too much. Because I'm like, Pike, you gotta fucking simmer down. The part that I love, though, is Jordan dishes it right back.
They very much have like a brat dom kind of vibe. Mm-hmm. And this is where I feel like you start to see that.
Pike then walks off, and before he's out of earshot, he hears her kind of whisper, like sarcastically, the yes, daddy.
But something that comes out of it that I love is from Pike's inner monologue when he's like, for the first time, I have the urge to give someone a spanking.
Yes. Yes. And like that kind of plays on too, because
like right after she does say
she says yes, daddy, and that's the inner monologue, and that closes up the chapter. And that last sentence, and no, I love that. Like
that last sentence did something to me.
Yes.
I do agree with like the rant mini hate of Pike's overreaction to the neighbor, because it's like you're getting mad at him for doing the same thing you were. It's like, yes, the neighbor was being more creepy about it, but you were having the same kind of thought. And this scene does kind of lead into a hate rant scene that I have. So it's like after this, it's like the next day, Pike forgets his lunch. Jordan goes, drops it off. That's fine. But then when she comes home, it's just her and Cole in the house for like the first time and one of the only times this really happens. And I hated this interaction between Cole and Jordan. Here, I'm done with Cole and Jordan's relationship because Cole's back from his partying the night before and he's trying to like talk Jordan into having sex with him. And Jordan's just not feeling it. Like she's kind of into it at the moment, but like they have all these unresolved issues and Cole is just MIA most of the time.
Yeah, Cole hasn't been around.
She's been picking up his slack once again.
And then all of a sudden he's just like, yo, baby, let's fuck.
Let's go.
And she's like,
I've missed you. I've missed your body. And she's just like, no.
She's like, your dad, she's like, I just feel uncomfortable. And he's like, well, he won't be home until 5. He's working. And then, you know, Jordan kind of keeps going back and forth.
Yeah, she's like trying to actually have a conversation with him about him not pulling his weight in their relationship and around the house, because she's like, look, we're living in your dad's house and you're not doing what you're supposed to. I'm working, I'm going to school, and I'm having to do
all your shit,
your stuff on top of my stuff. It's not fair, and we're supposed to be saving money, and you're out drinking every night. And he's just trying to like, he doesn't care. He doesn't want to have this conversation. He just wants to have sex with Jordan, and he's just not getting it. And it infuriates me.
Well, especially because I feel like Cole uses sex to get out of the hard conversation that Jordan wants to have.
Yes.
Which pisses both of us off. Like, that's not...
No, like, that's a huge red flag. Throw it down. Instead of resolving things, Cole gets angry, storms out.
And leaves.
Couldn't
have gone away faster.
Yeah. And then and this whole scene just gets progressively worse. Because then Jordan has to go to work. And again, Cole forgets to pick her up because he's too drunk at a party from the fight that they just had, because he's mad that he didn't get his dick wet.
Right.
And Jordan wanted to have an actual conversation with him. And
he drinks his feelings, blacks out, too drunk. She sees Cole's car, goes in, doesn't even notice the driver until she's like
in the car, throws her bag in there.
It's Jay.
She
is like out of that car in a second flat.
Mm-hmm. And she winds up spending the night in the bar. Pike does call her because he realizes neither of them are home, but she doesn't want to get Cole in trouble.
And she alludes that Cole and her are together, that they're both fine. So yeah, she lies and says that her and Cole are fine, that they're out, and she ends up sleeping on a pool table in Grounders. The next morning, Pike obviously knows that Jordan and Cole, they're both not home. But he's kind of like, I've talked to Jordan, I checked in, everything's fine. They're probably just out doing their like teenage thing. So he's just trying to be a cool dad about it. But Pike then realizes that Jordan and Cole were not together that night. He storms into Grounders, and Jordan is working. He automatically thinks that Jordan straight up lied to him, which means that she was with someone, not Cole.
Mm-hmm.
And so his outlook is that he's like, I can't have what happened with me and Lindsay to happen with Cole and Jordan. Like, if she is two-timing him, that is a no-go. And so he gets all hot and heavy in his feels, and he storms into Grounders and makes Jordan cry.
Basically accuses her of cheating on his son.
As she's at work.
In front of her boss.
And so she ends up going to the back, and she's crying in the storage room. And this is the first interaction between Shell and Pike where you get the dynamic of what Shell is kind of to Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
And this is my love, because I hate that Pike automatically assumes the worst in Jordan, but I love that Shell calls Pike out and says, you think your son is the one in the wrong? And she's the one that tells him that his son
got too drunk,
that he sent the ex who abused Jordan to pick her up, and she ended up sleeping at the bar on the pool table.
Because she would rather have done that than get his beloved precious son in trouble.
Right.
Attempt number 1 of Jordan trying to leave Pike's house. And then there is a cute scene here because Pike does realize he's in the wrong, he messed up, and he wants to kind of make amends to Jordan. So he builds her like a little garden patch. So she comes home ready to like get her stuff and leaves. And then
sees this.
And
you have to realize too that Jordan, no one has ever really done something like this for Jordan, where they were actually really thoughtful in the gift that was given. And I don't even really think that Jordan received many gifts like growing up. Like, you know, she just didn't ever have someone in her life who was like caring and who actually
would pay attention to what she was interested in.
And Pike did. So as of right now, they're mended. Like, everything of that encounter has been kind of wrapped up.
Things are calm for the next little bit between everybody in the house. But Cole and Jordan kind of have a party the same night that Pike has like poker night with his boys. And so she goes downstairs where the poker game is being had, gets some like ice pops out of the freezer, and it's a pool party that her and Cole are having. So like all the guys playing poker are kind of watching Jordan in her little bikini leaning over the like deep freezer to get the ice pops out, and Pike's just like, ugh.
And she is wearing a shirt. She's wearing like a cutout.
She's wearing Pike's shirt.
That they realize, because Dutch leans over and goes, hey Pike, isn't that one of your old high school baseball shirts? And it is. Jordan has taken it and she's like cutting off the sleeves.
Mm-hmm. And there was like a really cute moment where then while Pike knew that they were both kind of having like little parties, get-togethers, he winds up getting Jordan like a makeup birthday cake, kind of like another way to like show that he's sorry for what went down between them, and gives her some 80s music tapes that he had just kind of in storage.
And this cake that Pike gets Jordan is like a 3-tier pink
champagne.
Beautiful.
Like, this is very much a Jordan cake because Jordan is very like a girly girl. So it's like a pink champagne, roses all over the cake. It's very much catered
to her. And it probably was not an inexpensive cake.
No.
This thing was probably pricey.
Yeah, and he didn't just go for like your typical vanilla or chocolate cake with like some balloons on it. That is just always like
the generic. No.
Sitting in like the bakery section. Like, this was like a special cake.
Fancy.
Yeah. he didn't like have it custom made for her, but it was like he went above and beyond and picked out a better cake than just.
So Jordan asks Pike about this cake because I guess Cole finds it first and is kind of like, yo, can we eat this? And so Jordan goes and asks Pike
for permission.
Is this fair game? And he goes, well, it is for you. It's a belated birthday cake since you didn't have an actual cake on your birthday. And I love that Jordan goes, well, then no, Cole can't have any. This is my cake.
And there, we got a little bit more flirty banter building between Jordan and Pike, but nothing really crosses a line here.
No.
This does lead into something like the following day where Cam shows up.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So Cam shows up being very Cam-like. She kind of just barges in on them.
She's very much whirlwind.
So like Jordan's inside cooking. Pike is outside doing lawn work. Mm-hmm. And obviously he's like shirtless. He's sweaty. He's ripped. He's hot. Love it.
And Cam notices. And Cam's already noticed that he's an attractive man.
Cam noticed, like, that's the first thing. She's like, oh, wow, hey. He has a license and a job at the same time, Jordan. Like, this is who you need to be going for. And Jordan's like, no, this is my boyfriend's father. Like, Jordan at this point is still very much like, deny. She's like, you're crazy.
Trying to put these boundaries and these walls up. And Cam
pulls a Cam.
She knows her sister. So what does Cam do? She goes outside and
she doesn't just go outside. I can picture this. Hips swinging.
Oh yeah, she's turning up the charm, and she saunters right up to Pike, and like I could see her like doing like the arm caress,
the laugh, like the subtle touches, And Pike and Jordan's watching on, and Pike is entertaining this. He's not being inappropriate, but like Cam makes him laugh, and Jordan notices, and she's like, "What the fuck are they laughing about?"
Yeah. So Jordan
is low key jealous of watching. Yes. So Cam is doing exactly what she wants, and at one point even turns around and lips jealous yet to Jordan as Jordan is watching this
again. The comic relief of Cam. Which leads us to another spicy scene coming. So after Cam makes Jordan jealous, she kind of walks away like, haha, have fun with that.
Hair
flip. And Jordan, she's like, I need to go cool off. So she goes and takes a shower, but she can't use the shower that's in her room because Pike is doing construction and remodeling that bathroom. So they're sharing
the master
bathroom. So she's in Pike's shower, and she starts to have another little fantasy moment.
Yeah,
in the shower.
She's feeling something.
And this time, it is a full-on
Pike
fantasy to the point where she winds up taking Pike's loofah.
By mistake.
Subconsciously,
maybe
probably on purpose. And she finishes herself off.
With his loofah.
Once she's completed, she realizes what she's done, and she's like, oh crap, I need to throw this away. There can be no evidence that this had happened.
And the great thing about Penelope's writing in this book specifically
is those little things come back later.
Yes. And the fact that this is a slow burn, these scenes where the main characters are having fantasies and they're pleasuring themselves it's very in-depth. Like, it will take you through the entire fantasy that she's imagining.
Yeah, it's not one or two sentences. This is like...
It's a whole, like, plot line of this, like, fantasy that Jordan has. So even though Pike and Jordan don't really get physically, like, intimate until almost the end of the book, essentially, we get these little scenes that kind of tie you over. Mm-hmm. Even though they're not real... They give you something
to whet your appetite to let you keep going.
Right. And that's something that I appreciate with these types of scenes. Because we go so long without real romance, mm-hmm. It's nice that we have these scenes kind of leading us, It's building us up.
Which then leads into like another cute little mini moment with Jordan and Pike. They go to Home Depot to get supplies for her garden, and like Jordan convinces Pike to get backsplash, And like the Home Depot guy like mistakes Jordan for being Pike's wife.
Happy wife, happy life. That's what the guy says. And this, I love this because this chapter is in Pike's point of view. So it's kind of, he was the one that was having this conversation. And he was kind of shocked that the guy would assume that Jordan was his wife. Because up until this point, Pike is still very cynical, being like, it will never happen. The age, we're just two different people. It's,
it will never come across as like a natural relationship. And
Right.
this is the first time like a stranger kind of picks up on.
Right. And says something that is kind of like, wow, maybe I'm wrong in my assessment of the relationship.
But this cute moment is short-lived though, because we're about to have some more drama.
Yeah.
This evening. And it's not just a normal shift. It's lingerie night.
So I guess Grounders, every Thursday, they do this thing where the bartenders wear like lingerie tops.
Like corsets with jeans.
Stuff like that.
Nothing, it's not like Hook level where you're
No,
influenced on strip club.
But Jordan, up until this point, has never done it.
And Dutch calls Pike.
Yo, bro, you might want to get your ass down here because Jordan is up to no good.
So Dutch is being a little instigator and potster and making it seem like Jordan is like doing more than what she really is. So of course Pike gets down to Grounders and sees Jordan in a corset
and is just like jaw to the ground because obviously Jordan is a bombshell and she's wearing a lingerie top. Pike can't function.
No, and he's not okay with the attention. So we got that jealous possessiveness coming out again.
And what does he do? Goes right up to her and goes on the offense. Again, just so hot-headed and uses Cole as the scapegoat.
Yes.
About his own jealousy and obsession.
Again, gets worse for Jordan when she goes home.
So Jordan was able, I think she like gets off early or something. I don't know if Cole is expecting her, but she returns home and his car is in the front yard and Jordan is kind of like weird.
Like, why is he home? Because he left to go to party.
Right. So she goes home and she's in the house and she looks up into the backyard and they have a pool. Pike has a pool, obviously, and sees Cole and Elena, another one of their like mutual friends in this group that Cole parties with. And they are in the middle of hooking up.
So then Pike goes out and he sees it too.
Because Pike is like, what are you doing? Because she's like, kind of, he can tell something's wrong. And he looks out and he goes, what the fuck? And he is actually the one that storms out there and starts kind of being like, Cole, what the hell are you doing? And obviously Elena jumps out. She leaves. She, wraps herself in towels. She leaves. And the part that I hate about this is that Cole doesn't even apologize. He doesn't even... I don't even really think he says much to Jordan.
He doesn't say anything to Jordan. It's really a conversation just between Cole and Pike.
And Cole's just like, Jordan, you can stay here. I'm leaving. And he doesn't own up to it. He doesn't give Jordan, his best friend, any kind of anything. I mean, he is so heartless in this scene. And like the second time that I read it through, it like really stuck with me.
I was definitely more upset the second time around with this. I was mad the first time, but just seeing how you really don't get much of a conversation or interaction between the people who are actually in the relationship, where it's like you were just caught cheating.
And the thing that really just makes me hate this so much more and makes me hate Cole so much more is that he actually turns the blame on Jordan and says she was always going to move on eventually.
And the worst part is it does come out that Cole has been cheating on Jordan basically the entire book.
So the second time that I read this, and I knew going in that Cole was cheating on Jordan the whole time, I kind of was like, yeah. And I think even the first time I was like, he's fucking someone. He's cheating.
Like, goes back to that rant that I had about when Cole was trying to have sex with Jordan and he leaves. I think I even asked you, I was like, do you think when he left that he left to go then have sex with Elena?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
So she goes, move out, take 2 to her dad's.
Because she just doesn't feel like she can stay with Cole not being there. She She doesn't feel comfortable. She feels like she's a burden.
Yeah, there's no reason for her to be living at her boyfriend's dad's house if she's no longer in a relationship with this person.
Said boyfriend.
So she goes home and she tries to take her car that hasn't been running, that Cole and Pike have been working on fixing, mostly Pike. But it's still not ready, so Pike
volunteers to take her.
Even though he's trying to convince her, you don't have to go.
Oh yeah, Pike doesn't want her to leave. Pike is like, you have a place here. You were not in the wrong. I'm not kicking you out. Cole has no right to kick you out, even if he said you had to go.
Yeah. And Cole volunteered to stay with Elena.
Hey, Cole.
But ultimately, Pike can't do anything to really stop Jordan from going. So he does take her to her dad's. I do appreciate this possessive side of Pike, because when he does drop her off at her dad's house, he sees how awful she grew up. Jordan's dad is remarried and her stepbrother lives with them. And there's this very awkward, creepy conversation between the stepbrother and his friends.
There's just a bad vibe. It's just bad vibes all around.
And when she's going to what used to be her room, her parents have gotten rid of her bed.
There's no bed. There's a towel as a curtain over. There's spider webs.
And there's like dog poop. And
Pike is like, hell to the no.
You are not staying here.
And this is a point where I appreciate Pike's kind of possessiveness.
Yes.
He literally pulls Jordan out and is like, fuck no, you are not
He grabs
here.
the bag that like she was carrying and is like, He puts a stop to this.
He's like, no. And so he does kind of,
he's like, you have
that macho energy comes out, but it's needed because there's no reason for Jordan to have to.
He's like, you have a safe place to live where you're wanted. So they return to Casa de Pike.
So then we get another kind of summer storm.
Mm-hmm.
Another like torrential downpour threatening the town where Pike has to help sandbag the riverbank. So Jordan and Pike end up going down to the riverbank where Jordan experiences some jealousy because of a local woman, April, who is flirting with Pike just blatantly. Mm-hmm. Nothing happens between Pike and April at this point.
No.
They finish up the riverbank. And
Jordan's also single at this point.
Right, and Jordan is single now.
I feel like that's very important to note at this point in the book. Jordan is single.
Cole's single. Pike is single. Mm-hmm. Well, Cole's with Elena. So as a reward for a job well done, Pike gets Jordan to go mudding with him.
That's something they've talked about.
And something that Jordan has wanted to do. And it's the perfect kind of weather to do it. So there's a scene of them mudding where they're just like having the time of their life. Like they're laughing, they're vibing, everything's fine.
And it's kind of like a little date.
It is like a little date. It is like a little date. I love to see it. It's like finally, like, are we gonna get some smutty scenes?
Because they do have like a joke about how, Pike has a joke with Jordan about how like if a guy was into a girl, he would take her mudding and like he would let the girl drive his truck, and because a truck is made to be used and abused.
Right.
Sort of
and so Jordan ends up, she does get to drive the truck mudding and she's enjoying herself. So after that, they end up going back to the house where they hose each other off. Obviously, they're covered in mud. Mm-hmm. So they're outside near the hose and they are rinsing each other off. Close proximity.
Yes. And we finally get a first steamy moment.
She can obviously pick up on the tension, on the sexual tension between, Pike is rinsing her off. He's touching her.
And she asked him to rinse her off. Like, right. Can you get this spot?
Can you get my back for me, please? Like, you know what I mean? Like, she's asking for it. Like, she's
putting the feelers out there.
She's putting the feelers out there. So, obviously, who's he to say no? So they're, getting a little bit. And Jordan starts kind of egging him on, where he finally breaks and we finally get the first kiss between Jordan and Pike. And this kiss is steamy. He is picking her up. He is backing her up against the wall. All things that I love to see.
Yes. It's payoff.
But it is short-lived because then we get Dad fucking Cole, your timing couldn't be worse.
It's like, I already didn't like you. Now I'm really, really irritated by your whole existence.
Because if Cole hadn't showed up, they definitely would have gone
things would have progressed
all the
a
way.
lot further.
Like, they weren't stopping. Jordan had finally broken through Pike's defenses. He is powerless. He was finally giving in.
And I would like to say, we are 56% of the way through the book at this kissing scene.
Yes. And so, womp womp, ice water dumped on us because cockblock Cole shows up.
So now Pike's walls have been built up again. Like, oh no, I crossed a line. I crossed a boundary. This can't happen.
Because he was just had his tongue down Cole's ex-girlfriend's throat.
Where they just broke up like a couple days ago.
Right.
So he feels bad, like, I'm taking advantage of her in this vulnerable situation, which really isn't the case because we as readers know that the relationship between Jordan and Cole has really been dead for a lot longer than 2 days.
Yes. And so after this, Pike kind of puts the brakes on a little bit again.
Yeah.
Things kind of slow down a little bit. And so Jordan ends up babysitting. Kyle Kramer, the neighbor, who Pike does not like. He thinks he's kind of creepy, scummy.
Mm-hmm.
He ends up poaching Jordan to get her to babysit his 2 kids because he has an event or something. And so Pike, being Pike, is like, okay, you've already committed, but you're going to watch the kids here.
Yeah. You're
going to bring the kids here. You're not going to be waiting for him to come home at midnight while a hot babysitter and he's drunk. Like, no. So I love this scene because this is a great scene that you see Jordan and Pike interacting, like, with children, and it, like, makes my heart. I have a thing about kids and romance books. I know you do. I just love it. I love seeing dynamics of, like,
and it does kind of give you a glimpse of, like, how Pike and Jordan could interact if they had a family of their own a little bit. It kind of is almost like a little sprinkle, like a little nugget glimpse to how things could be between the two of them. So it is a really cute scene, which does then lead to another solo spicy scene. Because when Jordan does take the kids back to their house, Pike is left alone thinking about Jordan. And he does have his masturbation scene moment here where he is blatantly getting off to Jordan. So then it's like another callback.
Where he's like, where the fuck is the loofah? Another thing that I really love that is like a brief kind of scene with Pike is that Jay shows up at Pike's house looking for Jordan.
Oh,
because word on the street is out. Cole
that
and Jordan are
single.
Broken up. Jordan's single. Jay shows up.
Ready to scoop in. And so he introduces himself to Pike. Jordan's not home. She's still babysitting. Pike's aware of the dynamic between Jay and Jordan because Shell let him in on that when he had that raging.
At the Grounders. So Pike is like shutting that shit down. He kind of like backs Jay off of his porch and is like, don't ever come around here asking for Jordan ever again, or I will kick your ass.
Don't even look in her direction.
Don't even look at her. Don't think about her. She's dead to you. Fucking move on. Bye. Boy, bye.
Yes.
Bye. And I love that because Jay needs to be put into place.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he deserves a good ass kicking.
And Cole wasn't going to do it.
And Cole's a little bitch, and he's not going to do it. So, Daddy Pike, good looking out.
Points for Pike on this one.
Points for Pike.
Which then does lead us into another cute little day. It's a barbecue day where Dutch's neighborhood is like throwing a neighborhood barbecue. Pike and Jordan attend. Jordan was supposed to have a date that day with another guy that got canceled. This is a point where things are still kind of tense between Pike and Jordan. Jordan kind of goes off with like her high school friends and this guy that she
get
likes.
Like slushies or ice cream or something. They went
root beer
and got
floats
like
at A&W.
Yeah.
So she's off with like people her own age, and Pike is with Dutch, his wife, and like
where Dutch is also kind of making Pike feel guilty for his crush on Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
Dutch is
he's kind of like
tough love.
Like, this is never really going to work.
You're not going to marry her. She's not going to have your kids.
This is just going to be a fling, and you're going to cause a rift between your sons. So why are you...
Because Dutch at this point has picked up on the looks that Jordan and Pike give each other.
Yes.
They just can't hide the fact that there is something between them. And Dutch, being one of Pike's best friends, has kind of seen the change in Pike too since Jordan's moved in. He's not dumb.
So she's over it, and she just wants to go back to the house.
And she does. But she pulls up and sees April's car in the parking lot.
So Pike took Dutch's advice to heart. So he invited April over. Enter Jordan's jealousy.
Yeah, and her jealousy is a little bit more immature.
It is, because again, she is still only 19, even though she is mature for her age in a lot of ways.
She still has moments of being a 19-year-old.
Yeah, she's never had a healthy relationship, and it's kind of showing here.
Yes.
So she brought a root beer float back for Pike, because Pike kind of gave her a little hard time about, like, oh, kid going to get root beer float.
Right. Because he was jealous. He didn't want her going off with the guy that she was supposed to be on a date with to get root beer floats, even though they were going in a group setting.
Yeah, so she dumps the float in the washing machine and starts
banging around. Like, turns
the music up, is like then like pretending to like do her college schoolwork. So, oh, I didn't realize you were home, when Pike storms up the stairs like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah. And so April is kind of in this situation where she's kind of watching Pike and Jordan bicker, and like, she could probably pick up on a few
She's
things.
probably picking on these jealous tones between the both of them, and it's just like,
a little bit more jealous than what should be happening between Jordan and Pike.
So she excuses herself.
And she leaves. And finally,
they are going at each other and poking each other's buttons so much to the point where they can't take it anymore. And we finally get our sex scene.
Finally, we get our first sex scene. I love this scene. So the next kind of scene after Jordan and Pike have hooked up, they had a full night of rowdy, hot sex.
Here for it.
Get it, guys.
Finally.
And so Pike is in the next morning. Jordan's still in bed because Pike has to get up early because the construction starts early. So he's downstairs and there's a knock at the door. None other than freaking Lindsay, his ex-girlfriend, mother to Cole. And this bitch instantly calls him out because she is like, I know what you look like freshly fucked. And this is it.
Written all over.
Pike didn't even get out of the freaking house without having somebody come in and say, who have you been fucking?
And she's kind of inferring that it is Jordan.
Right, because she obviously is not dumb and she knows that Jordan is still at the house. And so she's implying, she doesn't know for sure, because Pike obviously isn't going to say, yeah, I just fucked Jordan. But Pike is now in his head because Lindsay
is soured at the moment.
Is getting into his head and kind of fucking up what is kind of good at the moment between Pike and Jordan.
Mm-hmm. So they're supposed to have a date night. Pike winds up bailing. They were supposed to do like movie and a pizza. Very much like... Very them.
Yes.
And Jordan is pissed.
Yes.
Because...
I would probably have done too.
And I love this inner monologue with her because she's like, I'm done being the person that gets walked over. I'm not going to be that person anymore. This is kind of like her character arc.
Like, come to God moment of like, I don't want to be the person that just gets walked all over. Like, I want to be respected and I deserve that respect.
Mm-hmm.
And so...
And she's not going to put up with this crap anymore.
Right. And she's kind of hitting her breaking point. So she does what any bad bitch would do.
She calls her stripper sister.
And goes, I think I'm ready for my first white t-shirt contest.
Yeah, first wet t-shirt contest, because it just happens to be
that night. Jordan ends up going, and so Pike returns home to an empty house.
Because now he realized he's fucked up, and he realized on his drinking with the guys that he just wants to be home with Jordan.
Right. He finds the flyer for the wet t-shirt contest
Mhm.
and notices that the day and the time, it all matches up. So he's like, fucking hell. So what does Pike do?
He goes looking for Jordan at the hook.
He goes to the hook. Doesn't he also like wear a suit?
He does, because he wants to have this, like, I almost got like Pretty Woman apology vibes, where like at the end where Richard Gere comes through,
Right.
Like, I messed up. I love you.
Yes, because Pike is not the suit and tie type of guy. He is
No.
that like construction worker, jeans,
He's
t-shirt.
very blue collar.
Yes, but he gets dolled up because he's like,
I gotta go get my girl.
Because
I messed up.
He's also like, I don't want anyone to see what is mine.
Mm-hmm.
In his possessive male brain. So he shows up to the club, and it's full swing. The music is blaring. There's girls on stage, drenched, but he doesn't see Jordan on stage right away. Then he sees a group of girls pulling a Jordan to
On
the
stage.
and she's wearing a lingerie top.
Mm-hmm.
And they dump cold water on her. She finally, like, she runs down from the stage because she doesn't actually want to be, like, up on stage drenched in a lingerie top. Like, that's not really Jordan.
That's not her personality.
No. And this is where Pike kind of, like, intercepts her. What I love about this scene is that Pike kind of, like, she sees him, and, like, you can tell that she's like, oh, shit. And, like, so she's, like, backing up, and he's kind of, like, encroaching on her.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, he comes up and just kisses her.
So finally, he's the one pursuing her at this point and doesn't really care who sees.
So they're, like, making out, and he's like, we need to go home. He's like, you don't belong here. Like, you're not doing this. Like, this is mine. So they're out by the car where we get another steamy, like, make-out session, which is super hot. He, like, pushes her against the car.
They get interrupted by the cops.
Yeah, like, she is up against the car, and her tit is out.
Yeah, because he's, like, pulled down her little tank top nighty, like, yeah,
thing, and is, like, going to town on her boobs in the parking lot, where then one of Pike's high school, like, friends, who is a cop, pulls up and is like, yo, you guys okay?
It's just like, oh my goodness, like,
mortification.
We get these steamy moments, and then it's like these abrupt stops with these embarrassing moments. Pike and Jordan do take it back to the house and continue on until the next day.
Pike comes home from work. It's like 5 o'clock, and he, like, pounces on Jordan. And so they're in the kitchen, and they're, like, getting it on in this really spicy scene. As they finish, they hear someone barging into the house.
Yeah, so they're, like, mid-sesh.
Yes. But they were interrupted by Cam barging in because Cam just...
Because it's Cam and I love her.
Whatever. So, obviously, Cam has caught them kind of red-handed. She can tell the clothes are not on right.
And she also knows her sister and what has just went down. Yes. So now it's out in the open to Cam about their relationship. Cam's here for it. She's very supportive. I mean, she's kind of been pushing Jordan towards Pike this whole time. She is concerned.
Right. She does kind of voice her concerns about just don't get your heart too involved because this could be a fling for Pike. And then we kind of get some more drama.
Cole comes back because he is now living with his mother after his little fling with Elena ended.
And he broke it off with her, supposedly, that he was the one that kind of called it quits. And so now he is living with Lindsay. But Lindsay, something with her apartment, I think it's like a window, there's something needs to be replaced.
So they need a place to stay for a couple of nights. So Cole comes back asking Pike, hey, can I stay here a couple nights? And also Mom needs to stay too. And at this point, Pike and Jordan are kind of sort of dating, whether or not it's a fling, casual thing, or something serious. They haven't figured that out yet, but they are together.
Right. They're seeing each other.
And Jordan's been spending the night in Pike's room versus the spare room that they've now set up as Jordan's private bedroom. So now Cole and Lindsay are going to be staying there. And so obviously Cole has his room.
Pike has his room.
And then there's Jordan's room, which Lindsay's trying to take.
Because Lindsay says, I can't sleep on a couch. I'm a grown woman. I need privacy.
In the meanwhile, Cole throws a party. Jordan comes to get some more clothes or something. Like, she comes back to get a few things, and she's going to go back to her sister's house. Because she can't be bothered with this whole mess. Rightfully so. Well, while she And Jordan wants to make a quick appearance, get a few things, go back to her sisters, not be seen by Cole, not be seen by Pike. And when she's in her room getting stuff, who shows up but Jay? And Jay once again tries to come on to Jordan. But Jordan, she's really kind of stepping into her own at this point and getting more of a backbone, and she just tells him off.
And I love this. It's something that I loved about it because I think this is the first time that Jordan has really took a stand.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically with Jay. I think that up until this point, she's just been so scared.
And she's done. Pike does come up because he hears the commotion going on. Jay's kind of gone back downstairs, but Pike comes in, checks on Jordan, and again tries to like convince her to stay, sort of thing. So then they start to have an intimate exchange, like intimate as far as like talking. And Jay walks in on this.
Yeah, and Jay, being the dickwad he is kind of like, well, he's like, Jordan, if I knew you had a daddy kink, I would have let you stay with me, pay rent for like, to get that like good, you know, kind of thing. And Pike loses it. He physically like assaults Jay. Like, there's a party going on.
And so now this gets taken outside, and Cole's like, what the fuck is going on?
Cole sees his dad beating up on Jay.
And so he knows the dynamic between Jay and Jordan, so he automatically assumes Jay did something to Jordan, which he did. Mm-hmm. So then he does jump in to like defend Jordan. Then Jay lets it be known that there is something happening between Jordan and Pike.
Yep, Jay reveals that Pike and Jordan have been getting it on since Cole's been gone, in front of Cole and in front of the entire party.
Mm-hmm.
This is a lot for Cole.
It's a lot for everybody involved.
It's a lot for everyone involved. This is definitely not the way that either Jordan or Pike wanted this information to get out.
No, they wanted to be able to have a conversation.
They wanted to control the narrative, mm-hmm. and they didn't because Jay jumped in.
And now it's been twisted into something
dirty. And so obviously Cole is kind of like, the fuck?
Like, fuck you, Dad. Fuck you, Jordan.
And he storms off. He leaves.
And Jordan can't handle this. It's too much for her. She honestly was just going there. She didn't want to see any of them. Just wanted to get a few things to go back to her sister's house. And instead of just going to crash with her sister, she leaves town.
Yeah. She pieces out. She has a pen pal, or like she has a friend from camp growing up that lives in Virginia.
That they've kept in contact throughout the years. And this friend has been trying to get her to come visit for a while. And she works at like a family-run motel. And like,
so she goes. And she doesn't tell Pike. She tells Cam and she tells Shell. So they at least know where she is.
And she checks in with Cam and Shell so they know that she's okay. But she pieces out on Cole and Pike because she needs to do something for her and get herself right. So another thing that has happened with Jordan leaving is we find out Cole, while he's been staying with his mom, has actually been trying to get his life together. And he decided the best thing for him to do that is join the military. Pike didn't know about that until Cole was actually gone. Because Cole was going to talk to his dad about it. Kind of after this party, he had this idea in his head that him and his dad could go get tattoos. And I feel like that's where the conversation was going to happen.
But obviously that did not happen because of the big reveal of Jordan and Pike. So after, Cole joins the Navy, Jordan's left, Pike's by himself.
And he's miserable.
There is a 2-month time gap between this and the next kind of like section of the book where does Cole come back first? Is that what ultimately gets him to go see Cam?
Yeah, it's when he comes back from basic training.
Okay. So 2 months have passed and Cole finally comes home from basic training. And he shows up at his dad's house.
Because his dad, when he did find out that Cole did join the Navy, found out where he wrote to him, sent him like calling cards.
So then Pike and Cole, like once they have this interaction, they finally start kind of mending their relationship. This conversation after boot camp, Cole kind of even asks Pike, like, where's Jordan? because they're at the house. He was expecting to run into Jordan. And this is when Pike reveals that he hasn't seen or talked to him in those 2 months, that the day that Cole left, Jordan left too. And my interpretation was that Cole was actually low-key surprised by that fact. I think that Cole was really expecting to find Jordan still there. They start to work on their relationship, and they go and get their tattoos.
And Cole gets
this like big naval piece, kind of.
Yeah, he gets like a navy tattoo, but he doesn't get it fully finished because he wants to have his first mission like
completed
on the boat before it's like totally done. And Pike winds up getting a tattoo representing Jordan.
Yeah.
And Pike finally admits that he is in love with Jordan.
Yes, he gets a birthday candle tattoo on his bicep because Jordan, the whole thing, birthday girl, she also has to, every single time she blows out a candle, she makes a wish. And like that candle really represents a lot of their relationship. So after Cole and Pike kind of have started to mend their relationship, they get these tattoos. Pike finally goes over to Grounders to talk to Shell and Cam to figure out where Jordan is.
Because he's ready to admit and
beg her and plead for her to come back, essentially. And I love this interaction because Shell and Cam, at first, when they see him, they are so cold. They are not giving him shit. Specifically Shell.
Yeah.
Shell is kind of like, you messed up. I'm not telling you jack shit.
If anything, I want Jordan to stay gone.
Right. Shell was the one that low-key told Jordan to go.
Gave her some extra money.
Extra money and was like, the best thing you can do is leave. So the last thing she's going to do is tell Pike. But Cam kind of steps in.
And she can see that Pike is truly hurting. She's like, Shell, he's looked like shit for the last 2 months.
But in Cam typical fashion, she doesn't give Pike all the information. She says she works at a motel in Virginia. Go and find her.
And he's like, what's the name of it? She's like, oh, I forgot. If she really means that much to you, you'll figure it out.
Virginia is a huge state. And they're just like, go wander Virginia. See if you can find her.
Good luck.
And that's all Cam gives. And I love that because I'm just like, yeah, make him work for it.
And another turning point for Pike realizing he does love Jordan and wants to be with her is after he does the tattoos with Cole, he finally does re-enter Jordan's room and he finds this little jar of all her dreams. One of Pike's biggest things with like having reserve of like really considering Jordan like a potential partner in life
is he feels like he is going to hold her back
from her accomplishing what she wants to do. But then he finds her jar of dreams and he starts reading them. And every dream that she writes is something that he can give her.
And a few of them actually even mention Pike by name in them.
And then some of the stuff he's already done. Like one of her dreams is having a clothesline in the backyard. And that was something he did during that 2 months she was away that he had no idea she wanted. So he's like, I've already done this.
Right. Another one was like, come up with like a Christmas tradition, a new Christmas tradition, which is something that they could do together. Mm-hmm. So yes, all of these dreams, as Pike is pulling them out one by one, he's starting to realize that everything that she wants
out of life, he can give her. And it's nothing
is holding him, like nothing is going to hold her back by being in a relationship with him. Jordan is working at this motel with her friend Danny in Virginia for the whole summer. Mm-hmm. And Pike finds her.
He finds her. He makes his way to the Blue Palms.
The Blue Palms. Mm-hmm.
And Jordan is like in the back going to get some paper for the printer. So it's Danny at the front desk. He is asking Danny, does Pike's voice? And she kind of drops the ream of paper and steps out from the back. They lock eyes.
They lock eyes across the room. And Danny's like, I'm going to go in the back. I'm going to go check on Grandma.
I'm going to go check on Grandma.
And this is kind of where Pike professes his love and says, I'm an idiot. I fucked up. I'm in love with you. I want you back.
And I will profess it to the world. It's you and me. Let's make this happen. Let's do the relationship. Let's be together. Yes. Let's tell everyone.
And so they end up getting a room and they stay the night at the motel. And then it's kind of a year jump. And it's her birthday again.
Mm-hmm.
So however much time was left after this whole story, it's her birthday again in this time jump.
Mm-hmm. And they are on some quads out in the mud.
Yeah, they're mudding on their four-wheelers, on these new four-wheelers that Pike bought for her birthday. They're having fun, and Pike says, I have a surprise for you. And she goes, but my surprise was the four-wheelers.
And he's like, no, this was just an excuse for me to buy a four-wheeler.
And he ends up pulling out a box with a big ring in it.
And proposes.
To Jordan. And of course she says yes. And then to finish up the book, we get the epilogue, which is a 9-year jump. And so much has changed. I mean, Pike's home is definitely a home now.
Yep.
There's pictures.
Pike and Jordan are married. They've been married.
They have a 6-year-old son.
And Jordan's pregnant with baby number 2.
She's about 4 months along. They're actually babysitting Cole's son. Cole met his wife when he was
stationed in Japan
in the Navy.
And they're about to go on like a little 2-week vacation. Jordan now has her own landscape design firm, and she's giving a presentation. And after the presentation, they're going to a cabin for 2 weeks and meeting up with Cam.
But it seems like, you get your happily ever after. Jordan and Pike are still in love.
I love a happily ever after.
Cole's got his shit together, and it seems like everything has kind of fallen into place.
And that's been Birthday Girl.
And that's Birthday Girl, baby.
Now that we've wrapped up the book, let's get into favorite moments.
Okay, so my favorite tension scene in this book is something that we've already kind of covered. It was the scene where they were after mudding, when they were washing each other off. I like this kind of scene because I like seeing Jordan slowly get into what she wants from Pike, which is obviously like she wants him. I really like that Pike kind of lashes out, low-key, calls her a slut.
Yeah.
And then I don't necessarily love, but like Jordan handles that really well, which I appreciate, which makes me love the scene. And then I definitely get those daddy vibes because there's a few times in this scene when Jordan is kind of egging Pike on, because this scene is very much Jordan pushing those boundaries for the first time, like really pushing those boundaries. So she is giving it all she has to kind of egg him on. And he definitely like gives me those daddy vibes, is like saying, go to your room. And he says like, if you act, he says like, you're acting like a brat. And if you're going to act like a brat, you're going to get grounded like a brat. Like, he's giving me,
he plays into it.
And in this moment, I really like that. But I think what really sets me like, this is my favorite tension scene, is once Jordan kind of breaks those boundaries, he like pushes Jordan up against the house backwards. So like her front is against the house. And he finally kisses her from like behind, which like I love the like dom thing. Like I'm here for like a dominant male character. And then like Jordan says like she's gonna leave, and then Pike is like, nope, turns her around, lifts her up, slams her back against the wall, and then starts making out.
Moments.
Yes, and then starts like making out again. And then obviously this is where Cole walks in, and it's kind of like water out on the fire.
Those are some of my favorite tension moments as well, where like there's the interruption with Pike and Jordan. Was when Pike comes home angry from work after the wet t-shirt contest thing. When Pike comes home and he's all pissed off, and he like starts storming up through the yard because he says one of my favorite lines from the book. I'm not laughing. Now get inside and take off your clothes. I've had a whole day to dream up the theme park I'm gonna make of your body tonight. That did something for me.
Yeah.
Make a theme park of my body, please. And they get interrupted by a neighbor who is trying to convince Pike to go on a date with her and like have Jordan babysit. And Pike is being a complete ass.
He does not handle that well. And it's so obvious. Like Jordan is like, oh my God, this couldn't be any more obvious that like there's something going on between us.
And then when they finally get inside and they do have sex, then Cam catches them.
And then that's the scene after, and then Cam walks
So
in.
just that whole moment, it's just like...
It's a lot going on.
They can't catch a break.
No, they cannot. Going off of that, because there is a scene that we haven't talked about because we were waiting until now, because it probably is one of our favorite scenes, I think, in this entire book. And it is the scene where Jordan, so after
It's just
Pike,
such a badass moment for Jordan.
Yes, so after Pike comes to the hook after the wet t-shirt contest, Pike pretty much suggests to Jordan that she doesn't have what it takes to do something like that, to like dance in front of people or to be a stripper or to do a wet contest.
Because the owner of the strip club has been trying to convince Jordan to like come work for him for a while.
Yes.
And Cam sometimes like jokes with Jordan like, oh, you could make more money if you just worked with me.
Right. And so this doesn't sit well with Jordan because she doesn't like when people tell her what she's capable of and what she can and can't do. So Jordan and Pike get home and Pike's like, let's go for a midnight swim. And she's like, okay, I'm just going to go upstairs and put on my bikini. And Pike's like,
Pike wants to see her in her shell bikini.
Yeah. And he's like, okay, whatever. And so he's downstairs and he gets a FaceTime from Jordan from upstairs. And he's like, what the fuck? He opens it and it's Jordan in this lingerie, like very sexy lingerie. He's kind of like, Jordan.
With the bikini on underneath.
Right. He's like, Jordan, what's
going on?
What's going on?
What are you doing?
And she puts on some music and she starts to give him a little like sensual dance.
Prove that she does have what it takes.
And so obviously Pike is then losing his chill. He is like, I need this in my hands right now. I don't want to be watching this on a screen.
But he also can't look away.
And so she then starts to like grind against her desk and gets herself off as the camera is behind her, because Pike says, put the camera behind you. I want to see you from behind.
Yeah.
And so she sets it, props it up like behind her, and like she gets herself off, and Pike is outside of the bedroom, like banging on the door, being like,
let
Jordan,
me in.
Open this fucking door right now. And she's like, no. And then she says the line where she's like, sorry, you can't touch the dancers, and hangs up on him.
And goes to bed.
And then texts Pike and says, oh, by the way, like, don't masturbate tonight.
Yeah, you can't touch yourself.
You can't touch yourself tonight.
So then he has blue balls like the whole next day and is like a jerk to everybody at the job site, which then led into my favorite.
Jordan is a bad bitch, and I respect this move because it's something that I want to do and attain, but I don't know if I have the control. And so I love to see that she does. And I'm here for it.
So good.
I'm here for it.
And my other favorite moment is the first time they have sex after the barbecue.
Same.
When Jordan is just pushing Pike's buttons, he has this moment like, if she thinks another man can do my job better, because like of the arguing that they're having, and he's just like, bullshit, and then is like, just grabs her. And that whole first time scene is just...
And what I love about this first time scene is there's specifically two things that I love. The first is the mirror scene, where there's a mirror in Pike's bedroom, and he kind of glances over because he can see themselves, like he can see them. And so Jordan catches that, and she's kind of like, I want to see. So like he flips her over so she's on top, and so that she can like look in the mirror and see it.
And then she starts getting off on like seeing herself.
Right. Like, love that. Here for that. And then where he completely trashes his bedside table, like the lamp and the table, like he just fucking goes all caveman and like throws it across the room. And like, I'm here for that. Like, I'm here for that kind of like in the moment, like manhandling things. And he manhandles Jordan, which I love because like he loves to carry her. And like in this scene, he carries her from downstairs to her room, and then carries her from her room to his room because he's like, we need a bigger bed.
Yeah.
For what I'm about to do, we need space.
We need some space. Need room for activities.
Yes. And then he like destroys the like one side of the bed, like the table and the lamp and everything. And I'm just like, I'm so here for that like energy.
So good.
So here for it.
All right, so now that we've talked about some of our favorite moments, overall love and hate letter time, what were some of your love letter moments to the book as a whole?
I mean, I think one of mine is definitely just going to be the banter between the main characters. That's something that I really love to see in any romance book that I read. And I think Penelope does a really good job at getting us that. I definitely felt very fulfilled, specifically because it is a slow burn. So there isn't a lot of like, it's not kind of throughout the hot and heavy scenes, but that banter does it for me where it holds me over.
There was a really good build up for this one.
So I love that banter between the characters a lot.
My love letter moments for this book, of course, is Cam.
Right.
Love her. Which does lead me to a question for you is like, what do you think of authors providing like bonus content, additional scenes and excerpts after the book?
I'm all for it. Especially if I really like the book, I want more. So Penelope does have two kind of extended scenes or deleted scenes that weren't in the book. One involves Pike and Jordan,
which does give you an insight into their relationship
in the public, before their marriage
and before the engagement too.
Yes, yeah, before everything. It's like a few months. It's like Halloween of that year. Kind of when they're out in public, it gives you an insight on that dynamic of them, which I really appreciated because that was something that we lacked with the actual book. We didn't really get to see a whole lot of them interacting with each other in public around other people as a couple.
Yep.
So that Penelope kind of gave us definitely gives us more insight, which I love.
Yes.
And with the Cam one, the Cam extended could be turned into a book.
I want that as a book.
Because it was so good. Penelope is so good. The plot, like I would...
And that's a more darker plot if that were to be a book.
Yes.
Than what Birthday Girl was.
Yes, and I would be so here for it. And I specifically think that Cam is a great character to do a side book to.
I do have some hate moments, things I wish I would change for this. The biggest thing, we kind of mentioned it. This was a reread for the both of us. So the second time around reading it, I try to listen to this book. I try to do the audio. And I absolutely hated the audiobook.
Okay. Why is that?
So I really did not like the narrator of Pike. I just felt I felt the narrator made Pike seem more predatory. When I was reading it and had my dialogue for Pike, it wasn't.
It was more like protective versus predatory.
Yeah, it was protective and...
Like he kind of reads it in a creepy way. Like he kind of gives like creepy vibes.
A little.
With like kind of what's written.
A little bit. Instead of like, you don't have that clear Pike is struggling.
With the issue, with Jordan.
With his attraction to Jordan. With the narrator, I felt it was very much Pike leaning into the attraction and not having as hard of a time with it as what I created in my head. And that lost me in a lot of
ways. Okay, fair enough. And I'm not a big audiobook reader ever in general. So I will definitely take your word on it. I hate all audiobooks, to be honest.
Pike just came across as more judgmental and inappropriate in his relationship with Jordan than... And then another thing, it's not really a hate, I just wish we got, is with Pike getting the tattoo for Jordan, there's kind of no acknowledgement about that from Jordan.
Right, it's kind of mentioned very briefly that Pike got this tattoo, but then that's it. Like, there's no interaction between Jordan and Pike to be like, oh my gosh, you got a tattoo for me. That's a big deal. If someone got a tattoo for me, I would be making that a big deal.
I just thought that would have been like a really sweet moment, conversation between the two of them.
And it would have been perfect at the motel scene when he finds her, when they stay the night. Obviously.
She's going to notice that she's been missing him for 2 months. She's going to notice the new ink. She was like obsessed with his tattoos.
She was obsessed with him in general. Like she would notice. I agree. I think that definitely could have just been paragraph,
Mhm.
like a dialogue. Like, it didn't have to be anything in depth.
Yeah.
But I agree.
And then the last thing, I wanted a little bit more from how the relationships kind of repaired themselves, like between Jordan and Cole, how their friendship got repaired. Because we never saw them have a conversation with each other about.
I mean, Cole never really apologized. Like, we never saw them actually have a conversation about, like, mending their relationship.
Yeah, and then the approving of how the dynamics are going to be going forward.
Right, and the fact that Penelope does kind of make it known that Cole and Jordan had this such tight friendship bond, but then it doesn't really show them repairing it.
Yeah.
Or not even
we don't get the reconciliation, really. Like, with the epilogue, it's clear that it happened.
But we're just like, okay, it happened, but, like, we have nothing to go on. Right.
And then also, like, Shell kind of falls off the radar. So it's like, does Shell actually come around and support this?
And it is briefly stated that, like, Shell and Cam would be invited to the wedding in the epilogue.
But it's like, did they show up?
Right, but it's kind of like, we don't really actually know.
Just want a tidbit more. But let's get into some fun things now.
Okay, yeah. So time for some fun aspects of our podcast. Our first one being casting calls, where we kind of, based on the descriptions of characters, put actors, celebrities, whoever in as the people who we're imagining the characters.
My choice on Cole is Austin Butler.
Okay. I'm here for it. Yeah. The blonde, because Cole is blonde. That's where my Cole kind of lacks. So I had two. My first choice for Cole would be Timothée Chalamet. You just have to blonde him up. Don't really know if he can rock the blonde hair because he is, like, darker features. I don't know. But I just felt like that vibe. I could see Timothée doing a good Cole.
Yeah.
And my second was Chase Stokes from Outer Banks, the main character in that.
Okay.
He's naturally darker, but in Outer Banks, he actually has, like, highlights where they make him blonder. And I don't know, I feel like I could just really see him as a Cole. Like, he kind of is who I am imagining.
All right.
So those would be my two picks for Cole.
I'm not mad at those.
Who's your Pike?
So I have two options for Pike.
Okay.
And both of these actors are from the first Suicide Squad movie.
Okay.
So the first one is Jai Courtney.
He plays Boomerang. He's the one who plays Boomerang in Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's the darker hair, because Pike
is
darker hair.
Yeah.
And he has this very rugged look to him, and I just feel like I could see him being a construction worker.
Word.
And
yeah.
And then my second choice, also from the Suicide Squad movie, is Joel Kinnaman. He played Rick Flag.
Yeah, I could see that.
And he's tatted in real life. Now, he's blonde, but, I mean, dye his hair or whatever.
Yeah.
And then Austin Butler he looks good with dark hair, so it's like if he decided to, like, make
switch them, right?
Blonde, have
Austin do the brunette.
Yeah.
Okay, I like those. I think those are really good. I also have two. So my first one is Taylor Kitsch. He plays Riggins on Friday Night Lights. I was just kidding. He has, like, that scruff, the brown hair. He kind of fits the age, like, perfectly, where, like, he's in his late 30s. That's kind of where Pike is at. And I could see him being, like, because Riggins is blue collar. So, like, I picture him just, like, older being, Daddy Pike. And my second, who is, like, I think one of my go-tos for actors, one of my favorites, is Alexander Skarsgård. He is blonde, but, like, he's just...
But same thing, if we have a blonde Pike, Timothée Chalamet with a darker hair.
Right. And I just feel like, I don't know, Alexander Skarsgård just gives me, like, daddy vibes. Just naturally.
I'm very okay with him being Pike.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm okay with it. And get him some, like, fake tattoos. Hello. Yeah. Yes. Please. So those are my two. I think all of ours are really good so far.
Yeah.
Okay. And then who do you have for your Jordan?
Okay, my one and only option for Jordan.
Yeah. Okay. But your one and only is so bang on that
So my Jordan is Natalie Allen Lynn.
So she is, if you watch One Tree Hill, the woman who plays Deb, Barbara Allen Woods,
Mhm.
this is her daughter. And she really does look like a real life Jordan. It's kind of crazy.
Like, the more pictures I saw of her, I was just like, this is Jordan.
Yeah.
Because she has this, like, girl next door look to her, but then she also has
Bombshell.
these bombshell, like, Instagram baddie kind of
Right, it's like
pictures.
naturally, when she's like natural, she looks like that farmer's daughter, girl next door. But then she like adds makeup, gets some like clothes going, and she's like that baddie.
And
that,
then
like,
she's
Jordan.
a little bit curvier of a girl, and that's kind of how I picture Jordan, especially with like some of the like sexy scenes and like the fantasy scenes that Pike has. He's always talking about her boobs and whatnot.
Right, so she does kind of have like the curves going on, and she's perfect. So I chose Ava Sambora.
Yes.
Who is Heather Locklear and Richie Sambora's daughter. And she is like, she gives me the same kind of vibes as like the girl next door, but also kind of has like more of a baddie potential.
Yeah, when you were showing me pictures of her, I was like, okay, yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, but your pick does, I think, have more the body of a Jordan versus Ava. But I think both of them kind of hit that, like, the blonde, the girl next door who can also kind of channel that, like, inner sex bomb, like, bombshell type of vibe.
Yes.
Overall, I'm very happy with, like, all of these options. I feel
like all of our casting could be, like, interchanged.
Yeah.
And it still works.
Yeah. And so if you're listening and you kind of want to see who we're picturing, like, these are who we're picturing.
Yeah. Google these people and then read the book with these images in mind.
You're welcome. So one thing that I would change, the first time that I was reading through this, with the buildup between Pike and Cole, almost was convinced that obviously it doesn't make sense because Cole was already born at this point, but it sparked kind of this thought as in, if Lindsay was unfaithful then,
maybe she was the whole time.
There was a chance that she was unfaithful from the get. So for our next fun little...
I got 3 for you.
Ooh.
I came with options this time.
One. We switched. Okay, let's go.
Yeah, I came with options this time around.
Give it to me.
So my first song, I feel, is like Pike's inner monologue towards Jordan, like a song to kind of wrap up his journey with falling in love with Jordan.
Okay.
And it's the song is 2 by Ryan Adams. And my last one is an 80s song because I had to pick something 80s for Jordan, and it's Tell It to My Heart by Taylor Dayne.
Nice. Okay, you kind of hit all aspects of the book. I feel kind of underprepared because I did not do that. To begin with, they're all on Spotify if you're ever interested. If I were to say this song, you would know exactly what the plot would be. And it's Guys My Age by Hey Violet.
That's a good choice. That's a solid choice.
Yeah. Our final kind of touch point is our seal of approval and our ratings.
Yes.
So for spice, out of 5, our little chili pepper, where are you kind of sitting? I'm
sitting at a 3 to a 3.5. I don't feel like anything is super kinky. Like, it's definitely explicit. You are getting graphic sex scenes and lots of detail. But even the things they do, nothing is very
out there.
I think the first time I read it, I would definitely be at a solid 3. But the second time around, really kind of realizing how many masturbation scenes you get, I kind of gave it that extra 0.5.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, I was kind of right on. I was between a 3 and a 3.5 as well, with the same type of reasoning. Right. I would probably lean more towards like a 3.5 as well. And then what about overall? Out of 10.
Overall, I gave it like a 7.5 initially, first read. Rereading it, I'd give it an 8 out of 10.
Okay, same the second time through. I don't really know I think I gave it like maybe like a 7 when I read it the first time. The second time it did get bumped up to that 8. And I think that our final thoughts, I think that this is a love letter to Birthday Girl.
Definitely a love letter.
And Penelope Douglas. I don't think I've really read anything from Penelope that hasn't been a love letter.
The Fall Away series isn't my favorite.
Oh, okay.
I like it. It's not Devil's Night, that's for dang sure.
And I'm sure we'll do a Devil's Night love letter eventually.
We'd
I'm just
have
going to
to
say
do-
it's a love letter because it's, I don't think I couldn't even pretend it's
We'd
not.
have to like devote like 4 episodes to Devil's Night.
But that is our love letter to Penelope Douglas's birthday girl.
Thank you for tuning in.
Yeah, we've had fun. I hope that you enjoyed kind of our breakdowns, our casting, our song choices. Let us know if there's anything you want us to read or think that we would like to read to do for a pod. We're always looking for some suggestions.
We have planned a movie review, which is also probably going to be my love letter to Sebastian Stan.
Yes. We don't always do romance books. Probably majority of it will be, but not everything. So just stay tuned.
Stay tuned. We're going to have an episode covering Fresh. I think we have plans to do the TV show Pam and Tommy.
Mm-hmm. Yep, we're in the process of watching that.
Thank you for listening to Emotions and Potions. I'm Alex.
I'm Ashtin. And this is a love letter. The
Yay.
birthday girl. Thank you, Penelope. We love you.